You're obviously close to Coach Harbaugh. I was just wondering what your interactions were with him last night, even this morning, leading up to this game, and what your message would be to him right now.
Yeah, big thing he said to me was, he loved me and do me. And I told him the same thing. I love him, and we got his back.
It was a dream come true, making a game-winning play on one of the biggest games probably in college football history. And, like I said, I really can't put it in words how I'm feeling. I was on the field just looking like I just called game. Like, I did that, so.
Welcome to the wrap-up presented by Allstate. I'm Skubie Mageza. That's my boy, Sam Ravech, and we are pleased to have you here. Thankful on a week of Thanksgiving, and week 13 is just about wrapping up. All the close games are done for, so just for everybody in the YouTube comments, we just want you to know that we're keeping an eye on it. I see y'all in there already. Seahawks talking about Oregon. Yes, we will be talking about Oregon in the show as well, and just want you to know to vote on our poll in the YouTube comments. Is Ohio State a team that should be dropped out of the top 4? Vote and let us know what you think. And then in our All-State Playoff Predictor portion of the show, we will go over the poll results and tell you about all the other teams that have a chance at making it in the playoff. And then we'll also be talking about Washington, Georgia, FSU, Oregon, and Alabama. But before anything, we like to start our show with our moment of the day, Sam.
What do we got?
And this was most definitely the moment of the day.
Sure was.
Isaiah Bond. Absolutely insane grab, man, in the Iron Bowl.
Yep. Corner of the end zone. They needed to have it. They got it. Alabama did just about everything they could to lose this game. I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, but no question. That was the moment of the game when they had to have it. Isaiah Bond, Jalen Milroe, the connection there with 30 seconds left in the game, and that was
And the reactions from the fans is absolutely hilarious. Yeah. Obviously, these are the disappointed Auburn fans, and this is on the anniversary of the kick six. Yeah. And I remember seeing Jalen Milroe on the field. If you check out our ESPN Instagram, he said, "Give me the Heisman, man! Man, give me the Heisman." Things that I can't say on this show.
Yeah,
but we're gonna bring our moment of the day in twos this week because this one was so good.
What else?
We even had to show it. Check out Brett Venables here.
Down he goes.
Trips, right, over his players. And he almost died.
Yeah, let's be honest.
This is how people go out. Yeah. And it would have been tragic, to say the least. But here's Brett Venables talking about it in his post-game presser.
Exactly what I thought. What are we doing here? But I got to keep my feet. And so somehow I didn't keep my feet. And then probably 5,000 pounds fell on top of me. And I just kept getting shoved further and further. And I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. This is really happening right now. That's what I thought. And I was pissed. Not at anybody, just pissed.
I would be too.
I feel you. But you know who else is pissed, Sam?
Yeah. That'd be
Buckeye
Ohio
fans.
State.
Yeah. A loss to Michigan in the game, 30-24, as everyone's been talking about in the college football world. What sticks out to you?
A couple of things. Michigan didn't make mistakes. Ohio State did. Special teams played a huge part in this game. Michigan kicked a couple field goals. Their punter was spectacular. And by the way, we were waiting for those wide receivers for Michigan to show up big. Colston Loveland, Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, all had catches, all went for at least 30 yards. This was an impressive all-around performance for the Wolverines.
It was just a great team effort. And speaking of teams, ours was out there watching the game live. Harry Lyles and Harry Douglas on what they saw and what we should look forward to. Check it out.
All right, HD, got the sea of maize and blue back here behind us, 30-24. What are your initial thoughts on the game that we just saw right here?
Well, I thought Michigan did a great job. When you look at quarterback J.J. McCarthy, I thought he really grew up today. Threaded the needle on a lot of throws. That touchdown pass to Roman Wilson was unbelievable. NFL throw. Another one on the sideline to Cornelius Johnson. Also thought when it was time for Michigan to pound the football, they got the ball back with about 8:05 left in the fourth quarter, and they took it all the way down, got a field goal with about 1 minute and 10 seconds they left on the clock for the Ohio State Buckeyes. But that lets you know that they're able to dictate what they want to do from an offensive standpoint. And then the interception by Will Johnson early on in the game, the first mistake of that ball game, and then Rod Moore to finish things off with the interception to seal it for the Wolverines.
You know, you mentioned the Will Johnson pick. That was definitely the tone setter for me. The point that changed the game was the Zach Zinter injury. Number 65, the offensive lineman. Not just because he is not just one of the best players on an offensive line that has won the Joe Moore Award the past 2 seasons, but he is an All-American. He is a All-Big Ten selection 2 years running now. And to me, to see the response from that team, not just on that after that moment, because obviously the Blake Corum touchdown happened. He held up the 6 and the 5 to the Fox cameras after the touchdown, but 75-yard drive, never faced a third down on that one. And they kind of commanded the game after that point. Even when Ohio State followed that up with a score, they still managed to take that punch and still fight back.
Well, I think it shows you and also tells you how resilient this football team is of the Michigan Wolverines. For them to be able to, number one, win this football game without their head coach. Understand that at some point Ohio State was going to make a run. They were going to get back into the ball game. But also you have one of your best players offensively on the offensive line go out and to steal, round and pound the football when you need it to be able to control the clock. It lets you know everything you need to know about Michigan football. And for everyone out here who thought Michigan was going to be going away, ladies and gentlemen, they're not going away anytime soon.
No, they're not going away anytime soon. And speaking of that, obviously now this Michigan team is going to go face Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. What do you sort of expect out of that one?
Well, we all know Iowa struggles scoring the football. So I think from that standpoint, we know they're going to play defense tough. But I think the Michigan Wolverines, they can outlast them in just about every category. So I think it's going to be an easy win for Michigan, but you never want to go into a football game taking your opponent lightly. But I look forward to them being Big Ten champions for the 3rd year in a row.
3rd year in a row, and guys, they call it the game for a reason. It lived up to the hype this year. The highest stakes probably that we're going to see for the rest of this rivalry's history lived up to the hype, and we'll see how the Big Ten championship goes for Michigan.
Appreciate you, fellas. Those are our dudes right there giving us some great analysis. So we just heard them talk about it. Let's dive deeper, Sam.
Yep.
Zach Zinter going down, huge injury.
Yep.
Will Johnson also went down, the cornerback. Shane Moore said after the game that he expects him to be fine. But, you know, this whole game altogether, as we said, was a team effort for Michigan to be able to come out with the win the way that they did. Yeah. How do you feel about them looking forward now after beating Ohio?
Yeah, this team can win a national title, and I don't think there really was ever any question that they could, but I think a lot of people needed to see them do it and perform against a team like Ohio State, in which they were able to do. We needed to see J.J. McCarthy throw the ball and throw it well, and that's exactly what he did today. 16 for 20, 148 yards and 1 touchdown, that touchdown pass to Roman Wilson. But, you know, this is not the same quarterback who threw it 8 times against Penn State. And to his credit, I mean, he had a lot of question marks surrounding him, and he answered a lot of questions today. But we talked about it a couple weeks ago, asking the question, can Michigan win a national title without throwing the ball? And I think the answer at that point was no. Well, J.J. McCarthy said, I can still throw the ball. And actually, I was maybe a little bit banged up against Maryland and even against Penn State. So now that we're seeing him back fully healthy, he's confident, he's ripping off runs as well. He rushed for 17 yards today. He can use his legs. I mean, I think this was an impressive performance for J.J. McCarthy, and he quieted some of the doubters. There's no question that Michigan can win a national title in my mind, Scoob. You know, it just depends maybe on who they draw in the semifinal, too.
McCarthy becomes the 4th quarterback in Michigan history to beat the Buckeyes in back-to-back years. So that's an accomplishment. That's a full screen that we just showed y'all. As a matter of fact, I used to live out in Michigan for all our viewers out there, and I see people in the YouTube comments. It seems like we got some Michigan fans in there today. Shout out to y'all. Big win. What I saw from this for Michigan is the fact that they were 3 for 3 on 4th down. Early on in the game, they were going for it.
Good point.
On the chances that they got to. They were aggressive. And then you got to think, Sharon Moore, wow, dude. Congratulations. You come over as an interim head coach and you take over these 3 games that John Harbaugh was not there, and you out-scheme James Franklin and Ryan Day. Yeah. Bro, that is hard. So congratulations to him for doing that, because he was also the offensive coordinator and the offensive lineman coach in the game as he's taken over head coach responsibilities. Yeah. There's a reason why some head coaches give up play calling duties towards an assistant so they can focus on the game management sections.
Yeah.
And Sherrone Moore did a fantastic job when it came down to choosing if they had to pass or if they had to run. The play design was perfect for J.J. McCarthy, just one step, quick hits, and then the special teams as well. Michigan's punter, he only punted it 3 times, but he was averaging 52 yards per punt.
It. Yeah,
and Michigan, they punted twice in the first quarter and punted again in the second, didn't punt for the rest of the game.
Right.
So they were in control of this game from start to finish.
This was a complete performance from Michigan. And again, I think a lot of people just needed to see it once.
Yeah, but shout out to Ohio State. You made more mistakes. You turned the ball over twice. You weren't able to execute in certain plays. I thought you should have gotten the ball more to Marvin Harrison Jr. And targeted him more. There was other things that you could have done to stay in it. And mind you, we are going to talk about later. YouTube chat, get this. Ohio State still has an over 60% chance.
I don't get it. Somebody explain
to make
it
the
to me.
playoff. I don't understand. We asked you if they should be kicked out the top 4. Apparently, our analytics likes them. But another team our analytics likes is Oregon, the Ducks. So let's see what they did yesterday and do a little flashback. They took on 16th ranked Oregon State. And Sam, with the first drive for the Ducks, Bo Nix finds Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
And he says, you better knuck if you're Buck, because if not, I'm getting in the end zone.
You want to talk about dominant performances? This was one of them. Bo Nix went off, and he threw it 40 times in this game, Scoop.
Yeah, in the second quarter, how about instead of throwing it, why don't I call my own number? Because Nix has the legs to move, Sam.
Yeah, he sure does. That was his lone rushing touchdown of the game, but we've seen him rush for a lot more, and he also threw for 2.
Yeah, later in the quarter, what he really does well with his legs is use them to create time, and here he does it.
This was
throwing
special.
across his body to hit
special.
Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin is special. This throw is special. This team is special.
How many times does the coaches say, don't do that? Like, don't throw across your body.
Yeah,
he does it.
That's
And
one of those, no.
Right. Don't do it.
Yes.
That's right.
Skipping ahead to the 4th, Jordan James takes a handoff. Farts his way into the end zone. Oregon ends up winning this one, physical battle, 31-17. Now let's check out their opponent in the Pac-12 championship game. That will be Washington. They took on Washington State in the Apple Cup. And y'all, this was a game.
This was tight.
Second quarter, Cam Ward getting to work. Let's remember that he was playing really well this season. Ups and downs, but he can make throws like this. Hit Sam Lockett. We're tied at 14.
Nobody questions his prowess as a quarterback. The question has been the defense for Washington State, which in large part played well today.
Yeah, third quarter. The Washington offense. Michael Penix Jr. hits his favorite receiver, Rome Odunze. Come on, they've been doing that back shoulder fade thing all season long in the biggest moments. And in the fourth quarter, it's a big moment here. Ward dropping back and hits Lincoln Victor. They're down 7, no more. We're tied at 21. We're going to go to a minute left. Washington going for it on 4th and 1. Woo. Who else are you going to give it to beside Rome Odunze? This is what we've been doing all season long. In the biggest moments of your game, give it to your best player. Simple as that. Washington trying to win it at the buzzer. Grady Gross puts it up, and we're good. Just like that Allstate sign, he got y'all in good hands. Just like they've sponsored our show as well. A little extra drop for them. They win this game 24-21. Huge win for Washington as they look to hold on to that number 4 spot. Sam, they were challenged in this game. Had to kick the field goal with the time expiring.
Yeah, they did. They were challenged, and they've been challenged pretty much this entire season, right, Scoob? I mean,
yeah.
You can go up and down this schedule. You go, the game at Oregon State last week, that was a 2-point game. This game they were pushed but didn't break as well. And then the Oregon game, they were pushed as well and didn't break. But it seems like that's the motif, I guess, for this Washington team is they continue to have their backs up against the wall in games, and yet they still always come out with a win. And I think that's due in large part to the person who's calling the plays,
yep,
and the person who's throwing the ball, and the person he's throwing the ball to, in Rome Odunze. So, yeah. I mean, they have all of the intangibles that it takes to be a national championship team. I think that the rematch next week is going to be must-see television in Las Vegas.
All right, well, you just brought it up, Las Vegas. So let's go ahead and have that Pac-12 championship conversation. Oregon versus Washington. It's going to be electric. Yeah. Seeing these two teams go against each other again. And I've watched comments from the Oregon side after last night's win. They cannot wait to go against Washington. And I don't know if Washington is going to be ready for what this Oregon team is going to be bringing to them, because they're going to want to bring all the smoke and then some. Oregon has won 8 straight games by double digits. I mean, they've been on a roll.
They're scoring 30-plus points. I mean, and just about
8 straight games by 30 points. Yep.
It's just incredible what they're putting together. If we all remember, and I know you guys watching at home remember, especially the Oregon fans, the 4th down calls and the aggressive nature in which Dan Lanning likes to call games. I urge him not to lose that in the game against Washington. Just because a couple of the calls didn't work in the game in the regular season doesn't mean all of a sudden now we got to be conservative against Washington, because I think that's kind of the game that Washington wants you to play. Play more conservative. Let us dictate the tempo of the game. I think Oregon needs to keep the foot on the gas pedal. Like, don't go into that game being like, we made these mistakes earlier in the season. We can't make them now. Go and play the way that they have been playing the entire second half of the season.
Yeah. You see the numbers. Number 4 versus number 6. That is going to be a huge game for the college football playoff. Another game that impacted the college football playoff was the number 1 team in the land, the Georgia Bulldogs, taking on Georgia Tech. I've been telling people Georgia Tech is a pretty good football team. In the first quarter, the Dogs are down 7. But Carson Betts says, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I love it. Hitting Dominic Lovett. He ties the game at 7. Great throw by Beck.
I like that one. That's a good one, Skubie.
Second quarter, Georgia trying to score before the half. Edwards takes a handoff. And you know what he do. Dives in there. Georgia leads at 21-13 at the half. Georgia State would miss a field goal to make it 21-16 right before halftime, which was huge. Third quarter, Kendall Milton, he has the ball. You know what he is. Automatic here. The Georgia offensive line was moving people. They extend their lead to 18. Georgia Tech made it close, but Georgia gets a win 31-23. Now let's go over to Bama, because they end up getting their win. And quite frankly, it didn't look like they were going to get the win, Sam.
Yeah.
What a throw by Jalen Milroe in the final seconds of the game to get the win. What a performance for an Iron Bowl game. That is always good.
Yeah, always good. Jalen Milroe was really good. He's going to have to be excellent next week against a Georgia team who is playing about as good as they have in the last 3 years, to be honest with you, Scoob. I mean, we talk about this Georgia team and what they're trying to do, winning the championship 3 straight years in a row, something that hasn't been done since the 30s. So, look, I feel like the narrative around this game in the SEC championship has kind of been, well, Alabama wins, and then what? Like, I feel like we're all putting the chips on Alabama's side, when in reality, Georgia's actually going to be the favorite and probably going to be the heavy favorite, especially after what we saw from Alabama today against an Auburn team that lost to New Mexico State a week ago. So, Georgia, I think, is still the best team in the country until proven otherwise. I give Georgia a heavy, heavy advantage.
Everyone's going to keep talking about, is Alabama going to beat Georgia? And quite frankly, Sam, we've seen it. Alabama has had Georgia's number in the SEC championship game.
Yep.
Undefeated against them in that game. And I don't know if that really carries any weight, if that even matters at all, but we still need to bring it up because it is a statistic. Now, when I look towards the matchup, okay, Alabama has a mobile quarterback. Mm-hmm. Georgia has struggled against mobile quarterbacks, as we saw in their game against Auburn. Let's remember, Georgia also struggled against Auburn. Auburn is a pretty good football team, and they've proved it by playing well against Georgia, playing well against Alabama. Now, I look at the weapons that Georgia has on their roster, and they have more toys, more things to work with than Alabama has. And in the past, it's been the other way around. Nick Saban has had more tools. Nick Saban has had more toys to work with Jamison Williams. And the last time they played in the SEC championship game, he had over 180 yards receiving. So he was a key player. I don't know if Jalen Milroe is going to have as many tools or as many playmakers to negate what Georgia can do.
I'll just make one quick point. These games in the SEC title game, we always talk about the battle of the trenches, right? Who wins the rushing game? Well, today Auburn rushed for 244 yards against Alabama. Now, this has been an excellent Alabama defense all season long. Today, Georgia rushed for 262 against Georgia Tech. I'm not saying that it's going to happen again, because these are obviously different teams and different games, and the situation dictates. But look, Alabama's got to improve the defense and get that right, especially up front, because Georgia has got the running game going now, which opens everything up around them, Scoop.
Yeah, Liberty Football said, we just had a fan in the chat say, they want Georgia 12-0, undefeated.
I don't want anything. We always root for chaos.
Right,
but
let's go over to the ACC because we had an interesting finish towards the end of the season there.
Yeah.
These two teams jumped at it early in the morning. At 10:30 a.m., they were going at it in the middle of the field. And after a Louisville touchdown, we picked this thing up in the third quarter. Berrien Brown. You know we wouldn't be showing you a kickoff if there wasn't something that happened in the kickoff.
Turn the Jets on, big fella.
Too fast, too furious, too fast for y'all, man.
He wasn't slowing up either. He wanted to beat him by 20 yards.
Oh, my Lord. What did he clock in at? Like 22 miles per hour. Shout out to this fan in the jungle. Talking that talk. Fourth quarter now. Cardinals down 7. Jack Plummer takes the snap here and avoids the pressure and finds Amari Huggins Bruce. Great way to create time in the pocket. Louisville ties the game at 31 here. We're late in the fourth. Ray Davis takes the handoff and goes 37 yards for the touchdown. Fee-fi-fo-fum, this guy's a monster. Kentucky upsets Louisville 38-31 and takes home the Governor's Cup. That was huge because Louisville only had one loss on the year, and if you're FSU, you wanted them to win that game because that's who you're seeing in the ACC championship. So Florida State versus Florida. Trey Benson in the third quarter takes the handoff. We know Jordan Travis is not with this team, so they're leading on the run game.
Yeah, they needed,
and it leans on them well.
They needed Trey Benson to have a big game in this one, and he did just enough.
Yeah, Tate Rodemaker was the starter, taking over for Jordan Travis. And here, it was a little bit of a scary moment. On 3rd and 14, runs and gets hit in the head, Sam. Targeting call. Hill will be disqualified from the game for this hit. And it looked like Rodemaker was out cold in the
really
field, bro.
Two targeting calls, what it should have been.
Yeah,
but
thankfully he walked off under his own power. Brock Glenn, third-string quarterback, would step in. Almost looks like Tate Rodemaker's twin.
It kind of does.
Glenn gets in there, and Benson runs for the 26-yard touchdown. My boy was literally backpedaling.
Yeah.
They go on to win this 24-15. Big win for them because, of course, as we know, you want to stay undefeated. If you want to have any chance of getting into the college football playoff,
right.
Washington just overtook Florida State for that number 4 spot when they didn't lose a game. And I know Florida State fans were really upset about this. I'd love to hear what everybody else in the chat thinks about Tate Rodemaker's debut. Sam, what do you take away from Tate Rodemaker's debut? And from 1 to 100, give me a grade, bro.
I'll go B-.
Oh, okay.
I'm a generous grader. I'm actually a teacher.
Too generous.
No, I know. You gave him a C earlier, but I'll give him a B-. Look, he was serviceable. He did what he was supposed to do. He didn't make mistakes. And actually, that run that he actually sacrificed his body on, essentially won him the game, actually. But I think he was okay. Now, is it enough to beat Louisville next week? And by the way, a Louisville team that's going to be really ticked off that they lost a game to Kentucky and all likelihood knock themselves out of playoff contention, the little chances that they had. No, I don't think. I think Florida State's undefeated season comes to an end next weekend.
All right, let's talk about this more in our next segment because time now for the Allstate Playoff Predictor presented by Allstate, where we take a look at a number of things like whether or not Ohio State should drop out of the top 4. Now, you see a lot of these results over here in terms of chance to make the playoff entering week 13. Georgia being the top team. And you see Florida State there at 56%. A lot of things happened today. So we had a vote on if you guys think Ohio State should drop out. A lot of you said yes. 78% of you said they should drop out of the top 4 rankings, but our All-State playoff predictor still likes Ohio State. Now, had it been the other way around, like let's say Ohio State beat Michigan, Michigan's chance to get into the playoff was a lot lower. In the middle of the week when I checked, they dropped it to 13%, Sam. Might be a little bit higher had they actually done it, but I think they just didn't respect Michigan's resume as much, and they respect Ohio State's clearly.
Unfair. I don't understand that. You're putting so much weight. I don't know who it is, but the general consensus is putting so much weight on Ohio State's win over Penn State, who also lost to Michigan, and they're putting a ton of weight on a Notre Dame team who lost to Clemson last week and a Notre Dame team who has scuffled down the stretch of this season after a strong start. So outside of that, like, okay, what are you telling me? Now, what I will say is Ohio State does have 6 wins over bowl-eligible teams this year, which I guess is where you can get that number of 60% or whatever it is after the loss. Like, they have beaten teams that will play in bowls this year, but as far as ranked wins, like top 5 or top 35 FPI wins, like Alabama has 5 of those.
All right, so I really want to let's get back to this discussion because I'm almost fidgety talking about the ACC championship.
Okay.
I see it in the YouTube chat right now.
What are they saying?
Wolfpack or Florida State? What is the committee going to do with these 2 undefeated teams? Now, I'm going to say this: Tate Rodemaker going into the game, it brings me back to 2014 with Ohio State, right? Ohio State had JT Barrett go down right before the last game of the season, and Cardell Jones took over and ended up leading that team towards becoming a national championship team. But what everybody needs to remember with that team is that they had one Ezekiel Elliott in their backfield. Here are Ezekiel Elliott's numbers. And right now you see Trey Benson running for it, right? Florida State does not have an elite running back like Ezekiel Elliott because Ezekiel Elliott in Cardell Jones' first game had 220 yards rushing. Second game for Cardell Jones in the Sugar Bowl, Zeke had 230. And then in the national championship game, Zeke had 246. He had more rushing yards than Cardell Jones had passing. So a lot of people are bringing it back to that situation, kind of comparing it. And I think the committee was able to say, all right, we're able to still put Ohio State in because they are the right team. So the question is Florida State the right team if they go undefeated and finish off, or are they the most deserving team?
That's the toughest question because they've done everything they're supposed to do up until this point. Obviously, they still have to beat Louisville in the ACC title game next week. And if they do that, how are we supposed to punish a team that goes undefeated in a Power 5 conference, that wins these ranked matchups, and leave them out? It just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you know, like they should be in because they did everything right. When you do everything right, you should be rewarded, right? It's pretty basic civil class, right? Civics class. But no, like that's not always how it works. And sometimes the better team on paper doesn't get in.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm checking out the YouTube chat all the way throughout the show. The dude in there, he said we have 3 elite backs. We, as in FSU, bro, you don't have a Zeke. That's what I'm saying. You guys do not have an Ezekiel Elliott, but they are very, very good backs. Now, Ryan Day, after the loss in the game, as we know, he's lost 3 straight. Absolutely demoralizing, and people are literally calling for his head. While this dude has won 88% of his games with the team, I know out of all the games that he's won, he probably wants this one the most. Yeah. Here he is, post-game.
Yeah, I try to keep, what we talk about in the locker room to ourselves, but we're all disappointed. We know that what this game means to so many people, and so to come up short is certainly crushing, not only just because you invest your whole year in it. We know at Ohio State what this game means. And so, there's a locker room in there that's devastated. And it wasn't a lack of effort, but, again, we didn't win the rushing yards. We didn't win the turnover battle. So you're not going to win the game.
All right, well, that was a tough loss for the Buckeyes, but it's a big win for us right now because it's time for Saturday Shoutouts. You see them. There's Roman Wilson going crazy. We have a special moment from him in that game, but let's shout out everything else that happened around college football. And we're going to start with our most beautiful pass, Sam. What do we got? This is from last night with Penn State and Michigan State. Check out Drew Aller going deep. Bang. Dang. Since when, bro?
Yeah, right. That's what I was going to say. Aller hadn't thrown a pass over 20 yards for like the first 8 games, and all of a sudden he airs this thing out.
Yeah, we even remember the moment during the season when James Franklin got upset because a reporter asked him to try the deep shot more. Yeah. Okay, great job there. Now let's go best catch. And Jaden Daughton says, my hands are rated E for everyone.
That's right.
Give me that. All right, I know you didn't see the angle here, but let's go ahead and show you another one.
Yeah, you had a good point on the earlier show, Scoob. This is a little bit lucky, but hey, it's luck plus skill equals catch.
Hey, a little concentration there. It's a great feel for the ball because, you know what I mean, he hugged it, he snugged it, he made the grab. Best catch. Now we're going to slickest grab.
Okay, what do we got?
SMU versus Navy. Check out Preston Stone. Slinging the pill to Moochie Dixon. Ooh,
wow.
One-handed, my boy. 26 yards for 6.
Moochie Dixon, first team all name. I think we're going to put him up there at the top of the list. Excellent name, excellent catch. Mr. Moochie.
Coochie Coo. Well, where you go, where you go. Legendary Hustle. Same game. The same X account summed this play up very well. This is Will Benton.
Yep.
The long snapper.
Yep, he went down and got it, Scoop. He went down and got it.
Yes. This is why we say legendary hustle. When you have your long snapper, make it all the way down there to get the ball off of a. This is just next level.
Yeah.
Recovered the punt, and it was for a touchdown, y'all.
How does he beat everybody else down there? How does that happen?
He did a hustle. Now this is amazing. Most guts. This Kentucky fan walked into the shadow of death.
Bold. That's a bold move. That's one blue and a sea of red.
By himself.
And he was the one.
Don't care.
He was the one laughing at the end too.
Yeah, real talk. Asking for a fight and everything. He said, "What y'all gonna do about it?" Most electric. Kickers and punters are people too, right?
I guess so.
So these fans came in with crew necks, saying, "Punts! Let's go! We're here for punts!"
Yes, we're all here for the punts.
Let's go!
That's a great beard on the guy
Need
too.
a
I gotta
shirt like
figure out how to get one of those. We'll wear it on the show next week.
Iowa should have a lot of those at the Big Ten championship game. And then best foreshadowing, is this a sign to come? The LSU marching band forms as the Heisman pose for guess who? Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. That's good PR right there for your marching band. Putting on a show at home like the Tiger right there. This is great and well deserving too. He showed out today again.
Another great game, over 200 yards passing, over 100 yards rushing on the ground. And then it was another good game as we saw the game itself. There were some post-game comments, and Roman Wilson might have the most dog comment of all because he was feeling some type of way.
I told the receivers this whole week, like, you got guys back there, like, this is the thing that I thought too, like guys who you want to put on like the Louis V, like the $1,000 outfit, like you want to act hard, but when we're out there, like they're not hard. Like I see the film, like you're not tough. Like, and I don't think I'm the toughest guy in the world, but you know, I'm out there, I'm getting physical. Like I don't think they wanted it like how I wanted it.
Hey, full-time fans, time for overtime, brought to you by Modelo. And this is where we like to have fun on the show, of course. For everyone who's with us every single week, we have a little fun segment prepared.
What do we got,
this,
Scooby? What do we got?
This week, you know, since it is festive time.
In the spirit of. Yep.
You hear the music. This makes me want a little eggnog or some with a little. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about the latest CFP rankings, but with a Turkey Day twist. We're going to call some teams certain foods. And like I said, I'm checking out the YouTube chat. Someone says, nobody's talking about how Oregon can bang down the door and knock everything off. Well, why don't we talk about it a little bit over here? Because what if Oregon is the broccoli casserole at number 4? Because this is our top 4 for the playoff.
Well,
Sam, what do you think?
Well, I got to be honest, Scooby. I know you're not a huge fan of the broccoli casserole.
The broccoli casserole?
But I think the broccoli casserole, when done well with little crispy onions on top, some cheese, obviously, it's a very underrated dish. And I think Oregon is still underrated as a team. You see their ranking. I think they should be number 4. They're currently number 6. You win next week, they're in the top 4.
Yeah, let me go ahead and retweet what you just said because Oregon is nice. All right, our next one is Washington. We think they're the 3rd-ranked team in the country, and they're like the stuffing, you know, at the Thanksgiving table because they're just making everything work. They seem to just fit in the right place. Sometimes made well, sometimes not made well, but it gets the job done. You know what I mean? And Washington getting this win was huge against Washington State, a team that, quite frankly, has not been great. But as we always say, rivalry week, you can kind of throw everything out of the door, and the teams will be able to make the game more competitive. And looking at Washington's schedule this season, y'all, check it out, chat. Their biggest win, that game against Oregon. Oregon's coming for you. They're coming for you.
No, they are. Let me also tell you something else about stuffing too, Scoop. It kind of brings everything together. Brings everything together. Brings everybody together. There's a lot of different variations too. You can go stovetop stuffing. You can go with the homemade stuffing. You can get it a lot of different ways. Washington has won a lot of different ways this year. There you go. That's the comparison.
I'll tell you what Michigan is as our second-ranked team in the country.
Well, that looks good.
Turkey. Just the way that I think about Turkey is how I think about Michigan. Overrated, and nobody needs it anyway.
Oh, no.
All right, we do need Michigan. Let me not take it that far.
The chat's gonna come
but
at
it's
you
still
right now.
overrated. I don't care about
Okay,
the
fair
people that
enough.
are in the group that will be mad at me for this. But Michigan, offense, not the best. Defense, the best. I'll give you that. Turkey, not the best, but people like to keep it traditional.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Michigan, it just does what the solid things like Turkey. You know, sometimes
old reliable.
Think about this with Turkey, right? People make it once a year. You never decide on a hot July afternoon to deep fry a turkey dish.
That's right.
No, you never do that. You only do it during this time of the year. Overrated. Turkey, Michigan, a little overrated to me. Don't come for me, y'all.
No, I'm with you there too. I'm with you there too. Let's go on to number one, shall we? We all like a good dessert, right, Scoop?
Yeah, and the dessert, the sweetest of all. And sometimes all it takes is a dog, like them Georgia dogs. They're number one. They're our dessert. After a good meal, after you've eaten up the quarterback, sometimes you just want something sweet, a little something sweet. And Georgia might be the sweetest team in a good way in the country.
Well, let me say this, Scoop. There's nothing sweeter than winning, and Georgia wins, and they win a lot, and they're well on their way to winning their third straight national title.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is back. Carson Beck's playing well.
A lot of sweetness.
That team is locked in. All right. Well, listen
We're
up,
locked
y'all.
in too. We're locked in.
This is our show. I'm checking out let me check out one more thing in the
what do we
YouTube
got?
chat. If Michigan jumps to number one, I don't think they're jumping to number one yet.
That's the end of the show. We'll see you next week.
We appreciate y'all for watching on Thanksgiving week. We are thankful for you. We are thankful for Joe. We are thankful for Rachel, Mel, DJ, everyone on our
Round
team
of
that helped
applause.
put this show together, including Angela. Thank you for watching. That has been the wrap-up presented by Allstate. Have a good rest of the night. Peace.